you think of a worse time to have your underpinnings, your professional underpinnings, yanked from you than age 14?
Self-esteem, everything would just go, it's terrible.
And of course, there are gruesome stories about this. Bobby Driscoll was one of the finest kid actors ever. In fact, he got an Academy Award when he was still a teenager. It was a special Academy Award, you know, undersized. But he did things like, you know, Song of the South and Treasure Island and a wonderful picture called The Window. But in his adolescence, he developed clinically severe acne. He was unattractive. He was personally unattractive to people. And yet, all that talent was there.
Yeah. Well, look at Rusty Hamer.
Well, that's another one.
That's a very sad one.
That's a sad one, and it's probably the one that was closest to my heart and started a minor consideration, which is what I do today. As a writer, I collect stories. I listen to people's stories, and I jot them down, keep notes for myself, and think about how I can present that dramatically in the pages of a book. And with kid actors, I kept collecting kid actor stories, and some of them were really quite tragic. And Rusty Hamer, I knew where he lived. I knew he was overweight. I knew he was prone to violence and had access to guns. I was talking to his brother, John. I never showed up at his door. And I could have. I mean, I was out on the road with book tours and whatnot, and he only lived a little bit north of New Orleans. I could have stopped. I should have stopped. This is my friend. And so the morning his suicide was announced on national media, I sat bolt upright in bed and looked at my wife and I said, that's never going to happen again. If there's a kid actor in trouble somewhere, I'm going to show up. And that was the simple impetus for starting a minor consideration. I remember telling my wife, Ronna, bless her heart, she's a show business nurse, so she understands this stuff. You know, nurses are always present when you have infants on a set. 6 months and under. Anyway, I told her then, 2, 3 kid actors a year maybe will get in the sort of trouble where we can help. Ignoring completely that at that very moment that we started a minor consideration, Danny Bonaducci had lost another radio job. Dana Plato was naked in Playboy. Drew Barrymore was about to publish her autobiography at 15, detailing drug and alcohol use at 9. Todd Bridges was in jail on attempted murder charges. And Jay North, Dennis the Menace, was threatening to kill people. And he meant it.
And he meant it?
Oh, did he ever? Oh, yes.
And then today, we're watching TV. Every newscast, everything is John Benet Ramsey.
Well,
what do you think of that?
Well, that's the poison we have allowed, this cancer that we've allowed to take root in our society. Since when do children involved, even in a beauty pageant, get all made up like that and tarted up? And thousands of dollars spent on their costumes. Exactly what's the reward? You know, some beauty contests today offer, this is for 8, 10, 12-year-olds, new Chevrolets as the prize. The child can't even drive the car. And who's really benefiting? It's like the Little League has become a job for many of the senior executives in Little League baseball. So instead of being the game that we were all familiar with in the mid-50s where everybody played, everybody participated, yeah, you cared if you won or lost, to a television broadcast that is filled with, frankly, outright cheating. It's just 2 years ago, the scandal. We had a 14-year-old pitching to 12-year-olds. His entire community knew this kid was 14 years old and tried to hide the truth.
And John Benet was just out there as a sex symbol.
Well, exactly.
6 years old.
And well known to everybody. And here is the increasing danger for children. There have always been pedophiles amongst us, people who have an unnatural attraction to young people, boys and girls. Now they have the means and mechanism with the electronic media to capture those images and preserve them and share them with their other sick friends, as we are seeing now. And this is what today's modern stage parent has to understand. You expose your child to this world, fame and money aside, you are actually making a life decision for them because the images won't go away. They won't go. Ask Brooke Shields, you know, or more to the point for people to understand. Isn't it amusing that Madonna today is turning her back on what she did, not, what, 20, 25 years
That's right.
ago?
I hear she doesn't even let her kids watch TV.
Well, and isn't that amusing?
Wait till they get her a book, right?
Well, here's a tip for all adults. If you're doing something that you don't want your kids to see, don't do it. Don't do it.
Right.
It's clearly something that is contrary to the notion of conscience, or to be blunter still, the notion of right and wrong. Children are not small adults. They are special, they are unique, they are developing, and you can toss them off the rails with a word. I tell people over and over in my speeches, close your eyes for a minute. Remember 3rd grade. The unkind remark about the shape of your nose, or the fact that you wore thick glasses, or in extreme cases, the kid in the wheelchair who was your classmate. Those are wounds that last a lifetime.
That's absolutely
and
true.
to think you can play in the gigantic fishbowl of Hollywood and somehow be immune to those slings and arrows is foolishness. It's going to hurt worse and will have longer lasting consequences. And it takes people sometimes a heroic effort to overcome these influences of childhood. That's what therapy's about. Natalie Wood had the funniest line. She said, you know, her therapy budget, she said, was the size of most third world countries' national budget. And sometimes it's true.
Oh yeah, they just grow up with all this pain and things that they,
well,
you know,
it's baggage that... It's baggage which in the ordinary course of life you could deal with, except you remain a public figure. People think they own you, that your ups and downs in life are of immediate import to them, and they measure you by, say, the song you sang or the images you projected, and then they'll walk up to you right to your face and say the following: gee, I used to love you. And I look at them and say, you know, those are the words used generally by ex-wives. And what did I do to make you stop loving me?
That's true. I used to love you when you were on something.
But you see, it's so revealing of the dismissive nature of fame. We are all accustomed to, you know, this year's top 10 box office stars, and then 5 years later, it's another group of box office stars. When you do that to children, when you simply move on because it's time for the next fad, you're leaving behind some wreckage. And that's what a minor consideration tries to do. And what's happened as we became adept, if you will, at dealing with these issues, mostly because we identified our community and we banded together. You know, the mutual support system we have is really wonderful because we get it. We've been there, you know. The members of a minor consideration are all former kid stars. There's 600 of us now. We're all in Trivial Pursuit. Now people say, oh, that's a neat accomplishment. But you know, as an author at age 33, when my best friend Eddie Nussbaum called me one day from Connecticut, hey, Paul, I just got your card in Trivial Pursuit. To him, it was a great amusement. To me, it was, oh, God, it just describes the drag on my career as an author. When are people going to take me seriously?
And as minor consideration, you're a president of.
My wife and I founded it in January of 1990. It has grown beyond my wildest expectations and taken me into arenas that I would never have guessed. My focus was young performers, but pretty soon it became apparent to me that there are a lot of kids being used in ways that are not appropriate. Young kids in sports, you know, whose parents are feeding them growth hormones and steroids when they're 10, 11, and 12.
Well, we can see everything you have to offer on the minor considerations.
Oh, absolutely.
Just go to Google and put Paul Petersen.
Yeah, any of the search engines will find me. You can do kid actor, you can do Paul Petersen, and you'll find me. You can see what the work is, because here's what's really happened. Children in the entertainment, like children in sports, children in agriculture, children who sell door to door, are all exempt from federal child labor laws. Why? Since when? And how come every day on planet Earth 250 million children go to work?
We gotta close.
No, I'm sorry, Jodie. It's been a treat for me.
Are you ready for part 2? I feel we just got started.
Well, in fact, we did just get started.
We did. I'd love to have you back. I really would.
When time allows, let's do it.
Okay. I thank you for coming. I really do. You've been a delight. This is Jodie L.A. and stay watching. and I'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.